So I've been watching the Federal Reserve, the interest rates, and one thing that I'm noticing is that in several years, those rates have not gone down. And that is just simply not typical for the way interest rates and the Federal Reserve and things have previously worked for us. Now, what that tells me is that there's something going on that they aren't telling us about. And what I've been noticing is that pending house sales have dropped, but builders continue to build. I live in an area that was underdeveloped a few years ago. My neighborhood and the one across the street was the only one for almost a decade, or the only two for almost a decade. And now, all up and down the street, around the corner, up the hill, there are new apartments going in and new housing developments, all ranging in the 300s to 400s thousand dollars each. I'm not sure how people can afford those mortgage rates at the current interest rates. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but I think people need to be paying attention. The minimum wage has gone up in some places, but inflation is steadily rising, and there still doesn't appear to be enough money. People seem to be overextended, using more and more credit. They continue to buy cars and go on vacations and take trips. And what that says to me is that people aren't ready. People are not ready for this country to get into a recession. People are not ready to not be able to afford the things that they've gotten comfortable with having. I think social media has played a huge, huge trick on us, where we're watching all of these people live all of these fabulous lives, but we aren't asking the right questions about how they have the ability to do it. And I'm concerned about it as well because, my paycheck has not gone up significantly from my place of employment in the last 5 years, but everything else has. The cost of insurance in Florida is just insane. My mortgage continues to go up. My car payment has remained the same, but, I've taken a few trips and put a few things on credit cards. And that is taking a chunk, trying to get that paid down, because I want to focus more on funding my retirement than paying off debt. But we all know, we all have a little bit of debt that has to be paid off periodically. So I'm concerned about what's happening, and the fact that nobody seems to be all that concerned about it or talking about it. We are still spending unnecessarily. I talked to you guys last week. I was purging and cleaning out some things, and I threw away so much stuff that had expired, that I spent money on, that I never used to its full potential. And if I just had $1 or more for each of those things that I threw away, I'd be less concerned about a few things today. So what I decided in that purging and that clearing out was that I wasn't going to buy any more of those things until I've used up the things that I have, because it's so important to not spend unnecessarily. We're still taking trips. I have a couple of trips planned coming up. Fortunately, they are already paid for. But, I wanted to go see Beyonce. I want to go to the Breezy Bowl. There's so many things that I want to do. But I have to be mindful of what I'm spending. Now, Beyonce and the Breezy Bowl, and, sharing my good friend's 55th birthday with her out of the country. Those are all really important things. Those are all really important experiences. And that's an opportunity to build memories, with the people that I love and care about, and get to see some of the people's music that I really enjoy. So I'm not saying that we should not do things that we enjoy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that we have to be mindful of our spending, and we have to pick and choose. I passed on Cowboy Carter for Miss Beyonce, but I will not be missing the Breezy Bowl. And I am going to take that trip with my friend. I'm just going to have to govern myself accordingly. Maybe I won't have all new outfits for each one. God knows, being in that closet reminded me that I have more clothes than I know what to do with. But what I have discovered through this process is that people aren't ready. People are not ready to make the changes that are going to need to be made in order for us to survive this little bout that we're going to have to go through. I hope it doesn't end up being a full-blown recession, but I don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs. Things are more and more expensive. I don't know what's going to happen with these interest rates and, these rates for insurance in Florida. So I got to be mindful because it's already August. And it's already time to start, looking at what next year is going to look like for us financially. So these are just a few things that I think that we should be doing to try and get ourselves ready so that if we do have to cut back or, shift in a different direction, we are prepared. And the first thing is to focus on what you can control. We cannot control the interest rates. I have no control over how much the Breezy Bowl tickets are or what the cost of insurance is going to be in the state of Florida for next year and beyond. But I can prepare for that by not overspending unnecessarily, by not planning too much, by not putting too much on my plate and not overextending myself. I have to focus on what I control, what I can control. And what I can control is how much money I spend day to day. And stick to some of the necessities, because a lot of the things that I have, I don't necessarily need. I just have them. So I need to cut back on a few of those things. Another thing that we can do is get out of the habit of swiping, get out of the habit of pulling out credit cards. If you use your debit card, be mindful of your balances. We don't want to create additional fees and things of that nature. But if at all possible, try to pay with cash. Once you break a $20 bill and you realize that you've spent it on something you may or may not have needed, it feels differently than if you just swipe your debit card and they, pull $17 out of your account when you weren't paying attention to the balance in the first place. Unless and until you look at that balance, as you get closer to the mid and the middle of the month and you find out, wow, I have overextended myself or I have overspent. I have so many habits that need to be broken. I'll go in the Dollar Tree, which is not everything's $1 anymore. Everything's almost $2 in there. But you'll get a handful of stuff thinking it's just $1.25 or $1.50. And before you know it, you spent $20 in there. And half of the things you really you didn't need. There was a time when the only thing I purchased out of the Dollar Tree were, gift bags and tissue paper and things of that nature. But then I got on TikTok and they started having all these beauty finds in there. And then we got the candle dripping and we got this, that, and the third. And so I tend to spend way too much money at Dollar Tree. So I am refraining from doing that. I have not been to Dollar Tree in the last 2 weeks and purchased anything. And I'm going to continue that. I'll make a list of what I need. I'll try to go in there once a month and that'll be it for me. And lastly, if you spend any time on social media like I have, you watch some of these influencers and some of these TikTokers that were making millions of dollars and, making all this money and doing all these things. We have got to remember that everything that we see on social media is not necessarily real. Stop focusing on what's happening online and thinking that because this person is doing this, that, and the third, that we can do it too. They're always trying to sell you something. There's a course for everything. Everybody wants to tell you how to do something. And we don't have any solid proof that they're actually doing what they say they're doing. So we got to get a hold to our finances. We got to make sure that we are ready for whatever comes our way. We don't want any surprises. We don't want any thing happening, and then we don't have the ability to handle it. I don't know how people are paying $400,000 mortgages when I know what the cost of living is here and what the salary is. I work for one of the largest companies here in my area. So I don't know how anybody that's working there or any of these other places is affording, $400,000 in mortgage. And groceries, we won't even begin to talk about groceries. Thank God my nest is empty and I am only feeding myself. But I just want my season game to be ready. I don't want us to run into any surprises and not be able to take care of ourselves, because many of us are on our own and we got to do the best we can with what we have. So focus on what you can control, try to pay in cash, and stop paying attention to social media. Those are a few things that's going to get us ready no matter what comes or headed our way. So until the meantime and in between time, the season lady is signing off. I hope each and every one of you have a fabulous, fabulous day, and I'll chat with you soon. Make sure your notifications are on so you don't miss anything. Until the next time, toodles.